this is a good segue into how we met. I wandered into your laughter yoga class at the Center of Health and Wellbeing here in Winter Park, Florida. I walked in with my yoga mat. I came in and you laughed at me in a laughter yoga class, and you said, "You won't be needing that." I was like, "Why? It's yoga." But we sat in a circles and we all laughed at each other for an hour. And I felt like a kid again for the first time in who knows how long. And I really appreciate that. And it's so nice to, meet you outside of that, to go to another class and to learn more about your story and feel the magic behind who you are as a person. So could you introduce yourself, say your name, and talk a little bit more about that experience?
My name is Dana Kaplan, and I guess I've been a spiritual seeker for about 22 years or so. And I started doing yoga. My husband got me into yoga because he used to do hot yoga way back when, and I was pregnant with my second, so I've been practicing yoga he's 26, so 27 years. And hated the hot yoga, but look what I can do. I'm super flexible, and it's just, it was the doorway for me. And just practicing, and I was getting something more than just that. And I started trying different classes in different studios.
You started to hear the whisper.
Yeah, I started to hear the whisper. There's something else here besides just like, look what I can do, boost my ego, feeling good. And for me, just learning to be okay in my body. And then one of my teachers just said, "You're a yoga teacher. When are you going to go get your teacher training?" And I had little kids, our lives were crazy at the time, and I didn't really even know that that was something I may have wanted because I didn't allow it. And when she said that to me, it was like, oh my God, all this water poured on this seed that I didn't even know was laying dormant there. And I took it to heart. And I started, and she said, "Don't worry about which teacher, do the one, you've got little kids, do the one that works for your schedule that you can do. Don't make yourself crazy about it." Perfectionism stuff,
I relate.
So I did, and even going through teacher training was wonderful. Great community, wonderful teacher, real yoga master, and I feel very blessed to have been through that, both 200-hour and the subsequent 300-hour advanced teacher training. And I just even remember going through that and going, but I'm not 22 and 103 pounds, all like, I don't look like it, I can't do this pose. All of the things the things that I do to myself that look like. But it's an opportunity to step in and do it anyway.
Exactly.
And that's how we grow, and that's how we break free of our stuff.
Nice. So you stumbled into it from your husband. His the nudging.
He's usually a catalyst for many things. So.
But it worked. This worked for you. You're still practicing it.
I'm still practicing. I'm still teaching, and I love it. And during one of the weekends, the week-long immersions of my YTT, our teacher had studied with the founder of Laughter Yoga, Dr. Kataria. So she was a laughter yoga teacher trainer. And she had just introduced us to, we did maybe like a half-hour class of laughter yoga. And I was in therapy at the time. I was doing all the things, and I was like open, and I always loved to laugh. And I went, oh my God, where has this been all my life? I need this in my life. Talk about not taking yourself so seriously and being so hard on yourself. Like, I saw this as, oh, I can laugh at myself and let it go, and like, who cares? So for me, finding laughter yoga has been a huge part of healing this perfection part. The shame, I call it the shame perfection part, because they're the opposite sides of the same coin.
That's awesome. You were able to find something that wasn't a drug or a release, and it's like you found your thing that can actually heal in the process too.
Yeah, that as well as the chanting. They're both self-expression. And for me, using my voice, singing is, I have to sing. It is how I'm supposed to express myself and how I heal. And laughter yoga is like another form of that. And they both open the heart and quiet the agitations of the mind, like if asana practice should do as well. but for me in a much more profound way.
Yeah.
So
my first experience with laughter yoga had a similar feeling. I was scared walking into it. I was nervous. I was, the only guy there. There was another man, but the second time I was the only guy. And
you were.
I was self-conscious of that.
Yeah.
The second time there was a camera in the room too, so I was thinking like, how is this footage going to be repurposed? How am I going to? And then like 5 minutes in, I just stopped caring, which was awesome. Yeah. I had to make a conscious effort, as I mentioned, but I got over that hump and I was able to still get that relief. I've mentioned like the first time it felt like a horror film for moments, because like all these laughing faces, and then we're on our hands and knees making a sandcastle, and I had to consciously overcome that part of the intellect. Yes. And just destroy it and just let my child come out, and it was a beautiful experience. To that I say thank you. Thank you for that.
Oh gosh, it's the practice. It's just it's what it does, and your awareness and sharing the feedback about how it is for you is so great, because there are people who may come to laughter yoga not knowing what it is, but trying to be open, and most are pretty open and most go with it. And then sometimes, like I've done events where I've been hired to do private events and people don't know what it is, so they don't choose to come.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in.
And some people are totally into it, but even in a class where they choose to come, there's always somebody who's like, who may be really uncomfortable, because it takes a leap of faith to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and let go, to really allow ourselves to be playful, like play in the sand, play in the dirt like a little kid on a playground, which is sort of the point, because if we allow ourselves to play like a little kid, the laughter's going to flow from us no matter what.
And the rest of that first day, I felt so much relief. Yeah. I felt like I didn't have that inhibition when I talked to someone in the sauna later that day, and it was just an old man who I normally would have just shut myself off from and kept my AirPods in, but in that moment, it was cool. And we had a wonderful conversation, and I felt like how I did as a kid, where I always had those conversations. So I'm trying to just pull that to days like this, and like outside of this, talk to people more, because that's my innate nature. But go ahead.
Making those connections, because then when we see somebody who we don't know and we don't have to talk to, we may not talk to, we're missing an opportunity of real human connection, particularly if it's somebody who isn't our demographic, of age, of race, of whatever. And so there's this old guy that you may not have anything, you think you have anything in common with, but you had a real connection. And so the laughter practice really helps us to just shed, yoga's all about shedding the layers, revealing the veils that keep us from, that cover our eternal light that's inside of us, that spark of the divine. And we just have to learn to peel it all away. And so laughter yoga, chanting, kirtan, yoga, doing it, are all just practices to help us reveal the true self, so we don't see ourselves as we truly are.
Gotcha. Well, talk more about your story from when you first got coached and trained on this to now.
In laughter yoga?
Your whole life. All practices that got you to now.
All practice. Well, I guess I'll start once I started practicing yoga.
Yeah.
Because that was sort of the beginning of the awakening.
Okay.
The beginning of the continuing awakening.
That's a funny phrasing.
Because it's not like I've arrived anywhere. I'm just,
thank
goodness I'm a little further along than I was 20 years ago, So yoga started it, and as I said, it was sort of a journey just to find something to feel good in my body. I was always athletic, I always played sports, but something about yoga, just the natural movement of it, felt so good and helped me quiet the mind. And when I started realizing and being able to refine a little bit and started teacher training, realizing how much my look at me ego part of it was a part of that, and watching that and just being willing sometimes to let some of that die off. And changing how I practiced that suited my health, my body better. And then once I was introduced to laughter yoga, I kept asking my teacher, well, when are you going to do a training? And eventually the next year she did a training, and there were probably about the same amount of people in the retreat story. There were probably 25, 30 people doing the weekend-long laughter leader training with my teacher, Italy. And it was so much fun. And we worked really hard, but it was so much fun. And then she said on Sunday evening as we were finishing up, she says, for those of you who really wish to share this, and I knew beyond a shadow, I needed to practice this and I needed to share it. Again, like the only way we can really hold on to something that matters is to share it. We are all here to share our light.
Yeah.
And I knew this is part of my healing journey. And gosh, like anybody can do this. And yes, it's fun and it seems playful and fun, and it is, but it's also powerful, powerful healing medicine, physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, in all the ways. And she said, don't wait. Tomorrow, go and volunteer your time somewhere. Find a community center, a senior center. Go and say, this is what I know, demonstrate, share, and I want to volunteer. Because if you don't do it tomorrow, your energy, your excitement, your level of enthusiasm will wane, and then all the self-doubt, all the mind stuff starts to come back in. And I took her advice. And the next day I was already teaching yoga at the time at the Maitland Jewish Community Center on Mondays. And so I went to the director of the senior programming for the seniors, and I said, this is what I just learned, and I want to share it, and I want to volunteer my time. She goes, this is the greatest thing ever. So I think it was October of 2010. October of 2010, I started teaching a weekly laughter club at the Jewish community. For the seniors, anybody could come in. And that went like every Monday until lockdown happened in 2020. And then, but I'd been teaching, then I started teaching other places and at the center and at festivals. And
that's awesome.
So, and then when I did my training a few years later with Dr. Kataria, did a week long to become a laughter yoga teacher trainer, that was the most beautiful, hysterical, piss in your pants, hysterical weekend. And to me, like learning from different traditions, yoga traditions, even though, laughter's obviously been around since humanity, but really from any traditions, we sort of see how everything is one single thing.
Yeah.
And in lots of hopefully all spiritual traditions, they talk about, don't forget to have fun and be joyful. Because when we're joyful, we're not stuck in our head. We're closer to whatever your concept of the divine is, whether that's the cosmos, Mother Nature, God, Jesus, the Buddha, Shiva, Krishna, it doesn't matter. Just, where's your light? Mm-hmm. And if we have that, it's like all of this in this world, it's just right here for us. With a positive attitude, we feel good and we're just connected. So we just go through life not sweating the small stuff, releasing some of the anger, releasing the insecurity, releasing the fear, the selfishness, the negativity that we carry around with us. And so, I need to be reminded all the time. And I'm just grateful I have practices that I love, that I get to share with people that help me to remember as well for myself, not to mention help others, hopefully, to remember who they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing about yoga as I've gotten more into it is how easily I forget leaving the studio, how good that was for me. And I go on with my day and I'm like driving around, start to get angry in traffic, and then the world comes back to me.
Yeah.
How did you get better at getting yourself back in the studio?
It's practice.
Just practice.
It's practice. And like I know you love going to class. Yeah. So that's really helpful. But for me I'm always teaching in my yoga classes, especially when I teach yin yoga, which is very slow and we're going deep into the tissues.
That's what I've done the last couple of weeks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's a whole different experience.
So much. Yeah.
It's a whole different experience. It's the opposite because you're working the joints, the connective tissue, and it's you're just there in a little discomfort for like 3-5 minutes at a time, and the body's uncomfortable, the mind gets uncomfortable. So the job of a yin yoga teacher is to keep you focused so the mind doesn't get squirrely and start getting reactive. Oh my God, how long do I have to stay here? Damn her for making me stay here. Whatever the mind is doing. And when whatever our reaction is to a pose in the mat, yin or yang, is how we react when we're out in the world.
That's a good point.
It's just the microcosm.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I'm like, okay, just come back to the breath.
Yeah.
Because yoga means union, integration of body, mind, and spirit. In a physical class, we focus on the body-mind connection. Spirit's always there. Whether we choose to be aware of that or not is up to us. But it's hard to work with the mind, because this is the ego. This is where all the mind stuff comes in. So how do we unify the body and the mind? Through the breath. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind.
Yeah.
So if I can just, like, I meditate every day, but I'm not good at it. I show up. Whatever it is, it is.
I love that.
Because I've been doing it for a long time, and I feel like I'm barely even a beginner, To me, laughing and chanting are dynamic forms of meditation. Movement can be a form of meditation, sure. So when I'm reminding my students to come back to the breath, notice the mind. If we're willing to notice the mind wandering, just like you said, when you leave, it's the same thing. You leave yoga class, you forget how present, you feel so good, not just because your body feels good, because the mind is calm and you feel aligned, you feel present, connected this way. And when we leave, it's like, oh, but being able to be aware of my mind is wandering, I'm losing that connection. And all right, how do I bring that back? It's all about awareness. And the more we practice doing that, like anything else, it gets easier. Our awareness grows, and maybe we don't, instead of leaving 1 billion times a day, we only leave 500,000 times today, and then come back. It doesn't matter that we lose our way. It's just, I see myself going, why am I doing that? Oh. And if it means coming back to the breath, just feel your feet on the floor, be in this moment, let me feel my breath move through my body. How beautiful is that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Could you talk some more about what music means to you and how you've been creative through, the harmonium and
oh my God,
the intersection of those practices?
Yeah, because for me it is such an intersection, totally, and I know as a musician, you get that. I've always loved music. I could always sing. I mean, I was in nursery school and pre-K. I was Peter Pan singing, I won't grow up, thumb in one mouth, finger up the nose. But I could sing, I could belt it out. I won't grow up. There's pictures somewhere.
That's awesome.
I'll show them to you later. So I always sang, and I was always like the leads in all the plays. But when I was performing in a show, it felt like it wasn't an expression of who I was. It felt like, because I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I was what I was told I was supposed to be. And so it was for them, like, oh, there's our daughter, doesn't she have a lovely voice? So I never felt in my skin with that, but I could sing. And where I felt really at home, spiritually at home, and I didn't even think this was a spiritual thing until as an adult, was when I sat down at the piano, and I could play a little piano, not much. When I would sit down at the piano and just play enough to support my voice and sing. It's like, oh, this is like the greatest feeling, because it's not for anybody else. It's just for my own heart and soul, for my own self-expression, where I'm not worried about what anybody else is thinking or telling me I'm supposed to be doing. So I knew all the music growing up, and I'm definitely a child of the 70s and 80s, and all my pop culture references are from there, and having kids, I know a lot of the music from the 90s and the early 2000s, and once they started driving and I was no longer in the car with them, I don't know any pop music anymore. and then learning, walking into chanting. My first yoga teacher, my first job teaching yoga, 2009 at a studio, my friend Deborah's studio in Sanford, her first studio. I just started teaching my first class, and she says, come this Saturday night, we're having a kirtan. I didn't know what that was. I had very little bhakti yoga, this path of which kirtan is a part of, that's about chanting. It's about the yoga of emotion and devotion. Nothing to do with poses.
Gotcha.
I said, okay. And so I show up to her studio, and there's some people there already, and there's this white guy with gorgeous long hair playing this silver guitar-like instrument. I didn't know what it was. I know today it's a sarod.
Gotcha.
And a beautiful instrument. And his guy's name is Win Parrish, who became a dear friend of mine, and unfortunately he left his body too 3 years ago. My mentors and teachers are closest male friends. A lot of them have gone, unfortunately, at a very young age.
Jeez. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's part of just learning to grieve.
Yeah.
And
something I don't have a lot of practice.
Thank goodness.
But
thank goodness.
My time will come.
Everybody's time will come with it.
Yeah.
You know, I have a few more years on you, so yeah, longer life, you have more time for these kind of things to come up. But I sat there and I didn't know he's chanting blah blah Om Namah Shivaya. I didn't know what he was chanting, but like Om Namah Shivaya, let's say, typical chant to Shiva. And I finally, this call and response, and you repeat and you repeat, and you get the vibration, and you're building this energy. And I love to sing, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but something is happening to me. I don't know what. It's sort of scary because I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But something is shifting and moving in me. I have no words for it, but something is opening. It's much bigger than me, and I'm loving it, but afraid all at the same time, and it's magical. And the kirtan is over, and I'm like, what just happened? I need more of this. At least with laughter yoga, which happened later, I think. Yeah, a little later. Anyway, I don't know about the timeline, but I had words for it because it was laughter and it was in English, but this was something happening at a whole nother level.
Very far out for you.
Very, very far out for me. That was a little scary for me, but in a good way, not like too scary.
When you felt that, did you sing out?
Yeah, I did. I started to. It took me a little warming up, and then Win came back, and then I'd also started teaching at what is in Maitland at a studio that used to be in Maitland called Harmony Yoga. That was my home studio for over a decade.
Wow. Nice.
And Win came back there a few months later, and then it was a weeknight. There weren't many people there. He was doing some gospel-y number, and I'm just like blissed out, starting to vamp, and he's looking at me going, go, go, go. So I start singing, and it's a beautiful, small, intimate kirtan. And after he said, I really liked what you did. Next time I come, will you sing with me? Next time I come to Florida, will you sing with me? I said, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know the words you're saying. He goes, oh, don't worry, we repeat them a lot, you'll catch on. And I'm like, that perfectionist part of me is very organized. I need to know, So it was a really good lesson for me to just learn to trust, like it's all going to be okay, and it was very much a work in progress. But he came down here every several months, and I did some Florida touring with him, and it was always so much fun and so heart-opening, and his music was great, and then he started running these festivals, big Love Light music and arts festivals, which I was always a part of and would sing at, lead kirtan and lead laughter yoga and teach yoga, and met the kirtan world on the East Coast. And so a lot of the other kirtan artists have, like, my family, my bhakti yoga family throughout, that includes all of the teachers. So it's really been a beautiful thing. And even in most January's MLK weekend, I usually host a kirtan festival right here in the living room with about 50 people. It's called goddess rising, a Shakti Kirtan celebration.
Nice.
And Shakti is just divine feminine energy, manifesting, creating, all creative energy that's in all people. You don't have to be a woman to have it.
No,
Everybody's got Shakti. Yeah. But 5 women are leading Kirtan. And we have musicians, we have band, and it's all afternoon, all evening, and we break bread together, and it's a beautiful, intimate, totally high vibe experience. And those are the kinds of things that I just, I live for, being in that kind of community and sharing and opening our hearts, our voices, raising the vibration together. And yes, we know we're doing it for our own healing because we love it, but we're really setting the intention to heal the world because we're raising the vibration big time. And really the goal in all of these practices is to, how do I transform myself so I can share more light in the world to literally elevate the consciousness of the planet?
Yeah.
It's not like an egotistical thing. It's like, no, we don't even realize how powerful we are. And together, we're so powerful.
Yeah. I'm just now starting to learn more about all the things that go on beyond what I can see, hear, and feel. And it's kind of mind-boggling.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
really
feel like
special.
I'm just like at the precipice of the beginning of that as well, because it's...
But you do know a ton about all of this. You know far more than I do. I'm just dipping my toe into it. But I really appreciate how approachable you are.
Oh, thanks.
And I mean that sincerely, because I feel like someone in your position, it's so easy to develop an ego about your accomplishments and the different things you've done. But it's so cool that you'll have me into your home like this and get this opportunity for us to share the message to the world. So thank you. Yeah.
You're so welcome.
That's awesome.
I really, every time I think I know something, I go, oh shit, there's the ego. So it's like, because I'm human and I have an ego.
Yeah.
And especially with all, a lot of what I do is very outward focused in the community, singing, leading, teaching, laughing. So it's very easy to get high on some of that feedback.
Absolutely.
And it's a continuing, growing process. But I remember how I used to feel after kirtans when I first started leading kirtan. Super high, it wasn't that amazing. In the band, we go, oh, I don't have any of that anymore. And
That's awesome.
It's just like, wow, I'm so grateful. What a beautiful night. And, and then we can critique how we get better or whatever, but this or that. But it's always, we are all always works in progress.
Yeah.
And I tend to like to think I know things, and I really have to watch that. So I'm very aware of that's my nature.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, I may know a lot more than you because I've been doing this a lot longer, but I'm also aware of, I know this much.
That's cool.
I know this much. Yeah.
My best days are when I realize it's not about me.
It's not about me. I learned a great lesson from a very famous kirtan artist. His name is Jayutal, and I've done some immersions with him. He was in Sarasota before the pandemic. And after the most beautiful kirtan, I also did one of his online immersions. It was amazing. He's in California. The night after the kirtan, he did a workshop in the Unity Church in Sarasota. And Jai was at the Neem Karoli Baba's ashram. This is Maharaji. This is the lineage of kirtan that Ram Das studied with him, Bhagavan Das, Krishna Das, Jayuta. This is the path through Maharaji, through Neem Karoli Baba. And so he was given a job there to just show up and chant, I forget what I want to say, it's the Hanuman Chalisa probably chant the Hanuman Chalisa every day. And he would say, not to Maharaji, but to Ma there, to Amma there, he would say, but I don't feel like doing I don't feel like doing that. And they said to him, who cares what you feel? I needed to hear that. Who cares how you feel? Because it's not about you. Just show up and do the practice, and you are serving a much higher purpose.
That's cool.
So thank you for saying that,
Yeah.
for that reminder, because because, I don't want to do it. I still get in my own way all the time. I don't feel like it. I'm too comfortable in what I'm doing. It's not about me. Just shut up and show up.
That's awesome. The last thing I ask each person to do is to speak from the heart and share to the world like advice on how to be more creative. The first step they can take to approach a life like yours, or just to maybe pick up that pen for the first time. Just speak from the heart and share.
Okay. Because this is great, because I was starting to go here before I got sidetracked. Because for me, my desire to do things right, to have people like me, all of that stuff has gotten in my way so much. Like here, I've been singing my whole life, and it wasn't until several years of chanting and playing the harmonium that I ever wrote any music. Mm-hmm. So I've been singing since I'm, 4. And it wasn't until I was 50 that music started channeling through me.
Wow.
And to me, that's grace, and finding the things that heal your heart and soul, whether it's program, therapy, yoga, all of the things we're talking about here, knowing that whatever we're seeking outside of ourselves, having really understanding, at least on some level, that it's already in here. We're just trying to uncover it. So yes, I can go to the Himalayas, I can go here, I can go to the rainforest and do whatever it is. It's all good, and there are benefits to that. I'm not judging, whatever anybody wants to do. But knowing at the end of the day, it's here wherever I go. So for me to even begin to channel music, I say, yes, I've written a lot of chants, original music. There's nothing original. It's not me. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a channel. And that I've just been able to get out of my own way enough for that light to start shining more strongly. And I'm so infinitely grateful. So in terms of living a more creative life, finding your passion, like I'm so grateful that I have been drawn to things that light me up, that I know are healing for me and light me up, and that I love sharing with other people. Like I'm clear that I'm here to share my voice, and as a tool for healing, as for teaching, for healing, for song, for laughter, and to bring people together. And like I said earlier, hopefully to bring people together in this space of where we can connect at a higher vibration of open-heartedness, of love, and of joy, which is what it's, all about. And that creates physical, mental health, and it's what heals the world. So find something you love to do, even if you hate your job. Like if you can do something you love, fabulous. But if you're stuck in a job and you don't know how to get it, like find something you're passionate about. Maybe it's, feeding the homeless. Maybe it's volunteering your time doing anything. Maybe it's gardening and growing vegetables in a garden. Maybe it's music, maybe it's writing, maybe whatever it is for you. Find something you love and commit to doing it, even if it's 5 minutes a day. And I used to say this to my students about yoga. Like some said, but I'm coming to class twice a week. I go, well, what about the other days? It's great. You're going to the gym. You're doing other things. I'm a big believer in that. You do a little bit of everything. But if you want to cultivate a practice, you're better off doing something 5 minutes every day than an hour once a week. It's like you start over. So even if you're like, okay, I'm going to commit 5 minutes a day to doing this one thing I love. And you know what? If you really love it and are passionate about it, before you know time, there is no time. You get lost in it. So that for me is like finding things where you get lost in time. And that's for me out, being out, moving my body in nature, in music. Find those things and do more of them, and do them with other people, so the vibration and the healing and the connection is so much stronger and so much more powerful.
Cool. Let's call it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
That was awesome.